We are now over a month into NFL free agency and less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. And four-time NFL MVP and Steelers quarterback target Aaron Rodgers has still not signed on to be this team's starting quarterback. And I think here in Steelers Nation, we have to come to grips with the possibility that Aaron Rodgers will not be this team's starting quarterback in 2025. And I do think, we have to start coming up with we have to start preparing ourselves for the possibility that Aaron Rodgers is not this team's starter heading into next season. So today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to break down what my plan would be at the quarterback position if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. All right, so I got my plan A, my plan B, my plan C, and then my kind of last case scenario for you guys at the end of today's show. So before we get into it today, get down there in the comments section and get us started. At what point should the Pittsburgh Steelers give up pursuing Aaron Rodgers? Do you think it should have been yesterday? Do you think it should have been, you think it should be the NFL draft? Do you think it should be training camp? What's the hard line for you that you think the Pittsburgh Steelers should set on an Aaron Rodgers decision? Let me know what you guys think to kick off today's show. So if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, my plan A is still obviously to sign Aaron Rodgers. Out of all the options out there, there's not a quarterback option out there with more upside for this season as a whole than Aaron Rodgers, because we've seen Aaron Rodgers, play at a high level recently, not as recently as the New York Jets last season, but he has played at a high level within the last several seasons. And also we've seen older quarterbacks after the age of 40 go to new teams and have success and almost lead their teams to Super Bowls. We saw Brett Favre almost do it with the Minnesota Vikings back in 2009. And then we saw it with Tom Brady, a 43-year-old Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and giving them a Super Bowl championship in the first year he was there in Tampa. So I do think Aaron Rodgers gives this team the best chance to win now, and the Steelers should still be pursuing him. But the big question is, when should the Pittsburgh Steelers abandon this plan? And when should they move forward without Aaron Rodgers on the roster if a decision hasn't come? Now, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, all right, what I would tell Rodgers is I would need a decision by the end of the month. All right, I would give him until the end of the month of April. I'm recording this on April 11th. All right, so he still has plenty of time to make a decision. This still gives him plenty of cushion to, go into a darkness retreat or take an ayahuasca retreat or do whatever he needs to do to come to the decision that he wants to be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. And if he takes past the month of April, I'm going to be moving on, all right? Because you take a look here, and the reason why I'm going to give him the rest of the month is because the NFL draft is taking place from April 24th through April 26th. And, giving him to the end of the month gives him a couple days after the NFL draft to still decide if he wants to be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. But plain and simply here, guys, if Rodgers doesn't sign by at least the end of the month here, guys, he doesn't want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, or at least not really. Like, if anything, he would begrudgingly sign here, but if he extends this into the month of May, he really wants another opportunity to pop up, all right? Because there's really no more new information he can get after the NFL draft. So if he's extending it past the NFL draft, it's almost a certainty that Aaron Rodgers does not want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2024, or at least it's not his preference. And if he doesn't want to be a Steeler, then the Steelers shouldn't want him as their starting quarterback, all right? Plain and simply. They don't want to be, kind of the fallback option, so to speak, for Aaron Rodgers. They want Rodgers to be excited to be here. They want Rodgers to be fully invested in what they're doing here, because if you don't get a fully invested Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to get the best version of him, plain and simply. And if you're expecting, kind of a half-assed Aaron Rodgers to lead this locker room, I mean, good luck trying to have success in 2025. So the other thing that I'm going to be telling Aaron Rodgers here is I'm saying, all right, we're going to give you until the end of the month to make this decision. But if you don't sign with us before the NFL draft, we're going to take a quarterback early because we can't afford not to and then have you flake on us after the NFL draft. All right, so I think that the best case scenario here, guys, is that Rodgers and the Steelers have like some sort of secret handshake deal here where he wants to make sure the Steelers don't take a quarterback in round one, but he doesn't know them enough to trust them and take them at their word. So he's just waiting until the end of night one of the NFL draft to confirm that the Steelers do not take a quarterback in round one. And if they, escape round one without a first-round quarterback, then Rodgers will sign on the dotted line. Maybe that is a handshake agreement that exists, but that is not something that is reported. That is complete speculation at this point. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's really what's going on. So if he does sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even if he does sign, Pittsburgh should still draft a quarterback at some point. Maybe not in round one, but definitely in the middle rounds, because Aaron Rodgers is a short-term solution, and you do need to, keep putting dart throws on the board here to try and get your future long-term answer at the quarterback position. If Tyler Shough falls to you in round 3, I would definitely pull that trigger. Jalen Milroe, probably the same thing. On day 3, if Kyle McCord, Will Howard, or Quinn Ewers is there, I would be fine taking those guys on day 3 of the NFL draft if you have Aaron Rodgers also on the roster. But coming up here, and I think a lot of the reason why you guys are watching this video is because you want to see what my plan would be if Rodgers doesn't sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So coming up here, some Rodgers contingency plans for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to let you guys know exactly what I would do if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers if Aaron Rodgers is not coming here to Pittsburgh in 2025 in just a second. But first, let's have word from our sponsor here at Game Time. And recently, producer Coop and myself just went to go see Jacob deGrom pitch for the Texas Rangers versus the Boston Red Sox at Globe Life Park here in Arlington. And thanks to Game Time, we were able to get some great seats and really save money on those tickets so we could splurge a little bit more at the game itself. We got some great food, we got some merchandise, and then we also went to go see some live music afterwards, which was an awesome experience. So Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, and it makes getting tickets to events even faster and easier than any other ticketing app that's out there. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, and with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The Pirates might suck this year, guys, but PNC Park is still absolutely gorgeous, and there's still some great tickets available on the Game Time app right now, especially for Skeens days. So if you want to see the best pitcher in baseball play in the most beautiful ballpark in America, you can download the Game Time app today, and then you guys can get some great tickets at PNC Park for the spring and summer. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS at CHATSPORTS for $20 off that first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So my plan B, if Aaron Rodgers decides not to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers before the NFL draft, is like I told Rodgers here, if you don't sign with us before the draft, we're going to draft a quarterback early, plain and simply, because you can't afford not to take one early that you really like, and then Rodgers flakes on you after the NFL draft. So the question when it comes to drafting the right quarterback is which quarterback should they take? Which one is the right strategy for this team, and which player not only gives this team the best chance to have success in the short term, but also the long term? So the potential round 1 quarterback targets here that the Steelers could feasibly take in round 1, Shadur Sanders from Colorado, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, Tyler Shough from Louisville, and Jalen Milroe from Alabama. Right now, there's a lot of mock drafts that are currently projecting Sanders and Jackson Dart to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And really the thing that I think the Steelers need to have their eye on and what their focus needs to be in the event Rodgers is not on the roster when the NFL draft gets here is that they need to target the quarterback that they think can help them win in 2025, but not just in 2025, guys, and beyond. And what I would do, and this might be an unpopular opinion here, guys, I would prefer to trade down from number 21 overall, get an additional day 2 pick for trading down, and then I would take Tyler Shough out of Louisville towards the end of round 1 over guys like Shadur Sanders and Jackson Dart. And this might be a hot take here, guys, but I have really gone over the film of all these top quarterbacks this draft season, and right now I have a higher tape and potential grade on Tyler Shough than I have on Shadur Sanders and Jackson Dart. Now, what does that mean? So the tape grade is how good he is right now. All right, you take a look at the profiles between Shough, Sanders, and Dart. I think out of those 3 quarterbacks, Shough has the best size, he has the best athleticism and rushing ability, I think he has the best deep ball, I think he has the best mental processing ability, ability. I think he's got the best footwork. I think he's got the best upper body mechanics. I think he's got the best anticipation. There's a lot of things about Tyler Shough that I think are just straight up better than Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart. And I think because of that, his upside is higher than those guys as well. But Jack, Tyler Shough is going to be 26 in the fall. He's too old. Well, how do you address that? Well, the way that I would address that concern here, guys, is that Tyler Shough is somebody, and frankly, the quarterback position is one where players play into their mid to late 30s all the time with success. All right, so if Shough hits, you still get at least a decade of franchise caliber football from Tyler Shough if he ends up hitting. But also, if you draft a quarterback in round 1 here in 2025, the pressure's on no matter what, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Jackson Dart, whether it's Tyler Shough. I think that they have 1 year to prove that they have what it takes to be this team's franchise quarterback, because if they stink and you are in position to take a quarterback in next year's NFL draft class, which has a lot of really good quarterback talent, I'm going to take the quarterback in 2026, and I'm not going to blink twice if the quarterback that you draft this year isn't up to snuff. So I think Shough is the most ready between Sanders, Dart, and of course Shough to perform right away. And then because he's got the better arm, because he's got the better arm talent, because he's got the better size and athleticism, I think the upside with Tyler Shough is actually higher with him than it is with Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. And when it comes to Shough, a lot of people ask me, what do you think about his pro comp? So I think his low-end comp is Mitch Trubisky. And obviously, if he ends up being Trubisky, that's a pretty disappointing outcome for Tyler Shough, right? The reason why I kind of compare Trubisky and Shough is because they have similar size profiles. They're both pretty athletic. And then they also both kind of shy away from pressure, and they like to throw off their back foot. That's kind of a weakness, a shared weakness in their games. That's something that Shough needs to clean up. But then I think the high-end comp for Tyler Shough is a more athletic Jared Goff. All right, I think that, the play styles between these two are pretty similar. They both have really good arms. They both can push the ball downfield with touch and accuracy. And I think that, if you can get, Jared Goff, who is a pretty darn good starting quarterback in the National Football League here in Pittsburgh, I think that is something that is absolutely worth it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, between Shedeur Sanders, who you'd probably have to trade up for at this point and give away more draft capital to go get, Jackson Dart, who I don't really believe in either, or Tyler Shough, who's got some really great starter quality NFL tools, who's got some really great NFL polish. I'm going to bet on those tools, plus I'm going to take the extra pick I get from trading down, as opposed to, trading up for Shedeur Sanders, who I think has limited upside, and I honestly don't love his tape as much as some other people do in the NFL draft space. So something that could happen here is you could trade down with the Kansas City Chiefs. You could trade from 21 to 31 right at the end of the first round and get their second round pick at number 63 overall. You take Shough at 31, and then you still have 2 day 2 picks at your disposal to address the other needs on your roster, like defensive tackle, running back, nickel corner, the other things that we all know the Steelers need to address here in 2025. So go ahead right now and let me know down there in the comment section. Would you be okay with this trade down and then drafting Tyler Shough at number 31 if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's not an ideal situation. You would rather take Shough on day 2, but if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you kind of force your hand a little bit here, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Yes or no? Are you okay with this trade down and taking Tyler Shough in round 1? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Another thing that you could do here, and something that I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will in fact consider as kind of a contingency plan in case Aaron Rodgers does not show up here in Pittsburgh, is you could trade for Kirk Cousins. And now Omar Khan said at the NFL owners meetings in Palm Beach last week that the team will add at least one more veteran quarterback option before training camp. This team always goes into training camp with 4 quarterback options, and if you draft a quarterback, that means you have 3 on the roster, and if you don't have Rodgers, that means you still need to add 1 more to the team. And I think that the Steelers will not trade for Kirk Cousins until they know for sure that the Aaron Rodgers thing is not going to happen. Whether that's they set a deadline and Rodgers still hasn't signed, or if Rodgers straight up tells them, I'm not going to come play for you guys. I think that if there is going to be a Kirk Cousins trade, I would assume it's going to happen after the NFL draft and after a potential deadline is set by the Pittsburgh Steelers. for Aaron Rodgers. And you might be asking yourselves at home, why not just go with Mason Rudolph? Why bring in Kirk Cousins if we're going to be drafting a quarterback in the draft anyway, and we already have a veteran option in the building that the team trusts? And I think that the answer to that question, guys, is it honestly can't hurt to add another veteran option, all right? Have another chance at the dart board here. And, I think that Kirk Cousins, he is somebody that has been a good pro in this league for a long time. And at the very least, he can be a great mentor to that rookie that you're bringing in the NFL draft. And, the likelihood that Cousins gets traded to the Browns just took a big dip today because the Browns went out and signed Joe Flacco in NFL free agency. Now they have Flacco, and now they have Kenny Pickett. And right now it's expected that that team is going to have a quarterback competition between Pickett and Flacco heading into the 2025 NFL season. So it looks like Kirk Cousins, if he's going to be playing and starting for a new NFL team this year, it would probably have to be the Pittsburgh Steelers if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is something here that I think is interesting, where I think that this is how a Kirk Cousins trade could look like. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers could do a very similar deal that they did for Justin Fields last year, where they sent a conditional 6th-round pick to the Chicago Bears that could have turned into a 4th-round pick if Fields played more than half of the offensive snaps. I think you can do something very similar this year, whether it's a 6th that can turn into a 4th, a 5th that can turn into a 3rd, whatever the case may be to get the job done. I think you can do this type of conditional kind of pick deal to get Kirk Cousins in a Steelers uniform if, of course, Aaron Rodgers decides to flake on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some other veteran options that the Steelers could consider via trade. Tyrod Taylor from the New York Jets is somebody that I think fits what Mike Tomlin would want in his starting quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over that often. He throws a good deep ball. He's got some athleticism, so keep your eye on that if they miss out on Rodgers. And then if they want to get a younger option with a little bit of a higher upside, they could think about Will Levis and they could think about Malik Willis, but honestly, I think they'll just take a guy in the NFL draft to fill their upside needs. Another option that could be on the table is bringing Ryan Tannehill out of retirement. Now, we know from Jordan Schultz that Tannehill has had conversations with the Minnesota Vikings about potentially being their backup, so it seems like Tannehill is potentially interested in returning to the NFL. He did not play last year for any NFL team, and if Tannehill comes back for anybody, I think it would be for Arthur Smith, all right? Because Tannehill has never been more productive in his entire career. I mean, you can argue Arthur Smith completely saved the career of Ryan Tannehill, and when he got there and then when he left, talking about Arthur Smith here, Ryan Tannehill is a completely different quarterback. You can see here in 2020, Tannehill got 33 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions in a passer rating of over 106 with Arthur Smith calling the plays for him. And then by the time that he was finishing up with Tennessee, as you guys can see, the numbers just went down dramatically. Now, especially now that Tannehill has missed an entire season of football, I think you can certainly make the argument Tannehill would not even be as good as Mason Rudolph, and I would actually think that would be a legitimate possibility, which is why the last resort here, in my opinion, kind of plan Z, so to speak, is to go into next season with Mason Rudolph as your veteran option, and then whatever rookie you end up taking in the early rounds of the NFL draft, kind of being in competition in camp to see who's going to be the starter, whether that's Rudolph and Shough, whether that's Rudolph and Dart, whether that's Rudolph and Tyler Shough. I think that is kind of something that could be kind of the last resort for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2025 season. So my updated quarterback plan. Obviously, we would all want Aaron Rodgers to sign as soon as possible. But if that doesn't happen, plan B, you draft a quarterback early. Plan C, maybe you add another veteran option with a conditional pick style of trade for Kirk Cousins, or maybe you look at a guy like Ryan Tannehill to fill out your veteran QB coffers before training camp begins, or kind of last resort here, you could go with just Mason and a rookie battling it out for the starting spot in 2025. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Who will be the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 1 starting quarterback this year? Will Aaron Rodgers eventually sign? Do you think they're going to trade for Kirk Cousins? Do you think they're going to draft a rookie and that rookie's going to be the Week 1 starter? Is it going to be Mason Rudolph? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Right now, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I have no freaking clue. I still maybe think that Rodgers has the best chance out of anybody else, but at this point, I really don't have a good answer for you guys. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of kind of a longer video today. So if you made it to the end, you are a true real one. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more in-depth and free Steelers coverage on this channel every single day.